Wake up, soldier. You're on duty.
Hello everybody, welcome to another Recommended by You review. Today's review, I take a look at the 2017 science fiction film Alien Invasion S.U.M. 1. The film is co-written and directed by Christian Pasquarello, and I'm sure I've pronounced that incorrectly. And it stars Ewan Rion, Andre Henneke, and we have the voice of Norman Reedus as well. Now, this film has been requested a number of times by JD, and I've finally managed to get around to watch this one for you, JD. I know you've been asking me for a while to check this one out, and I have had it on my list to watch, and I've managed to check it out now. And if you're interested in watching this, it is on Amazon as well if you want to watch this one. Right, this film is set in the future. It's a bit like a post-apocalyptic future. There's been this alien invasion many years ago. Earth kind of has moved underground, like the population has moved underground. It's become like a militarized population to kind of, save the environment, but also protect themselves from this, I think, non-chots or something, I think they call this alien race that attack the Earth. The only people that live above the Earth are kind of renegades who chose not to go underground. And periodically, soldiers from beneath the ground come up and they do like a tour of duty, and it's 100 days at like these outposts, and their job is to kind of observe and record and feed back to the command of everything that they see and hear and that sort of thing. And this one soldier, played by Ewan Rion, who you may recognise from Game of Thrones, he's called S.U.M. He starts his tour of duty. And as the days go on, initially he's very regimental, he's been trained well, he does everything he's supposed to do, but as the days go on, he starts finding things just aren't right within his outpost. The person that was there before him, there's evidence that, he didn't just kind of go back to his life underground sort of thing, or there's evidence contrary to that, and there's evidence that he was doubting his position as a soldier. And as time goes on, S.U.M. 1 starts having very similar doubts. He has contact with somebody over a radio, he starts finding notes from the previous person, and he starts to doubt whether, and he starts getting paranoid that everything he's there for is a lie, basically. So this film kind of focuses very heavily on that. Right, what are my thoughts on Alien Invasion S.U.M. 1? Well, as a quite claustrophobic kind of character film, it's nicely done in a lot of ways. I think the performance by Ewan Rion is pretty good here, because he essentially has to hold the attention of you, the audience member, for a good 90% of this film. It's only really him on screen. You hear voices on the radio, as I explained. Norman Reedus turns up as one of the voices on the radio, I think it is, but you never really see him. These are like you see glimpses of people living on the surface, and there's like this mechanic guy turns up to kind of check out his outpost, as he's claiming that it's malfunctioning and things like that. But for the most part, it is S.U.M. someone in this outpost carrying out his duties, and then starting slowly but surely to have this paranoia that things aren't right, and he's having doubts about his own people, sort of thing, and why they're underground, people on the surface. Is it all a lie? And even if these nonchoks, these aliens, are real itself, he starts questioning absolutely everything. So therefore, you as an audience member start questioning absolutely everything as well. Now, the secret to a film like this is if it could hold your attention and keep the mystery going throughout the film. If it's done well, then it will hold your attention. It'll keep that going throughout the whole film. And thankfully, this film actually does, because you're kind of living this tour of duty with this character, these 100 days, this monotonous tour of duty that he has to do. So you start doubting things as well. And in some ways, this film reminded me of the Tom Cruise film Oblivion. Where and I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't seen that film, but where he's carrying out this mission, he's doing good, but in actual fact, he's not. He's working for the enemy, really. And this film felt very much like that. This realization from this squaddy, basically, that this private, that, hang on a minute, I don't necessarily believe in this mission. I think we're maybe being lied to here. So you start feeling this paranoia as well, and you start convincing yourself that, hang on a minute, I bet this isn't real. I bet that's not real. I bet, essentially this militarized government is all powerful, and it's trying to control everything through lies and propaganda. So you start telling yourself one thing, and then there's a little bit of evidence that will say to you, well, actually, no, maybe it is like this. So you start thinking, you start hearing things out and about, and you hear clips on news things over the radio that there's been attacks somewhere by these creatures, but again you're thinking, well, that could be propaganda. So it keeps the balance going right up until the end, until you do discover the truth, and it does keep you guessing right up until the last 10 or 15 minutes of the film, sort of thing. So it does work on that sense. However, I think there's a lot of people would watch this and be quite unsatisfied with it. In fact, the score in IMDb is not flattering at all to this film. I think it's a little bit unfair. I actually think this film is better than the score in IMDb gives it. It's quite an interesting character piece in many ways, about paranoia and distrust and all this kind of stuff. But there are pacing issues here. Big chunks of this film is just this character on screen, someone carrying out his daily routines. And there's chunks of this film you could argue are quite dull. But if you like a good mystery, if you like a dystopian science fiction apocalyptic type future type thing, and the world building's pretty decent here. I think the set design's decent. I think the costumes are decent, and I think the central performance here is decent. I do think this is a decent watch. But I could imagine some people going into this blindly, if you like, watching it and thinking, I'm not sure I like that. It could potentially be seen as a little bit dull. But thanks for the recommendation, JD. I hope you're pleased that I finally got round to reviewing this. And don't forget to call back on the channel with plenty more reviews and content very, very soon.